to Education, Leadership, and Beyond, Surviving and Thriving. My name is Andrew Mavrata, host of the podcast, and welcome everyone. Welcome to our live viewing audience. Proud member of the Education Podcast Network, Voice Ed Radio Canada, wherever you're taking in your podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in, and excited to be with you tonight. Excited to talk to a veteran principal, somebody who's lived his whole life in the town. Steve Clark is the principal at Sierra High School in Manteca. I'm working on my pronunciation there, Steve. Manteca, California, and he's been the principal there 20 plus years, a long time, and he's grown up in that area. So when you live in the town and you're a principal there, it is a great challenge, but also a beautiful thing there. So we're going to meet Steve in just a minute. A quick word from IXL. I'd like to thank IXL for sponsoring today's podcast. Over 1 million teachers use IXL in their classroom every day. IXL is the most widely used online learning and teaching platform K through 12. It empowers schools with complete curriculum, thousands of instructional resources, robust reporting, assessment data, and more. It saves teachers a lot of valuable time with ready-made plans aligned to the standards and the textbooks. Built-in engagement tools like custom competitions make learning fun for students. And IXL's diagnostic is research proven to be a strong predictor of performance on standardized assessments. And the best part, everything I just mentioned is all integrated into one platform, so you can simplify your EdTech tools. Visit IXL.com to lead your students towards data-driven excellence today. The link is in the show notes. And again, appreciate IXL sponsoring today's podcast. All right, friends, let's get started. An opening concept. It's March Madness. March Madness actually starts tonight, those playing games today and tomorrow. And, I see sports clips. I see basketball clips. And this was from a press conference, Texas A&M, Coach Buzz Williams, and they were playing at Missouri. And right at the end of the press conference, he was about to get up, and he said, "Hey, are you guys in the journalism department at Missouri?" And the kid said, "Yeah." He says, "You want some advice? You want some advice that someone gave me, and I'm going to give you?" And they said, "Of course." So Buzz Williams shared this. Texas A&M coach. They are in the tournament, the 4 seed, playing Yale this week here. So from Buzz Williams to some journalism students. Number 1. Read more than you think you should. We all can use that advice for sure. Number 2, write down everything about everything all the time. When we write things down, it goes through our brain into our hands. Even texting is not writing it. When you write it, you put it on paper, it helps you recall it much better. A great teaching tip from a Hall of Fame teacher: rewrite your notes from the day. Number 3, over the next 10 years, build as many relationships as you can and learn to connect the dots of those relationships. Our guest tonight, Steve Clark, we met, I think, back in 2018 in Boston. And he came to my session there at the Principals Conference. And here we are in 2015 on the podcast. You talk about connecting the dots. I love it. And number 4, never miss an opportunity to learn or to work. Man, just great advice. Coach Buzz Williams, Texas A&M, helping kids out there at the press conference. Great advice there, those 4 tips. All right, let's get rolling. Let's meet Principal Clark, coming to us from Manteca, California. Good afternoon to you, Steve.
Andrew, how you doing?
Good. How'd school go today? You just dismissed your kids. And
we did. It's a little after 4 o'clock on the West Coast. Yeah, we get out at 3:30. Yeah, and it went great. Excellent day.
Awesome. Well, welcome to the podcast. Appreciate the connection there. And Steve, you've been there a long time in Manteca. Growing up there, being the principal, is it 27 years? How many years have you been there?
Yeah, so the school opened in 1994. I had been teaching. I'd done my student teaching, and then was working for the county. I actually came through the county's operated schools and programs, working with, at the time, we referred to them as at-risk youth. Now it's at promise youth. And then I worked in juvenile hall And I
Wow.
was coaching at the other high school across town, where actually my alma mater, where I graduated, Manteca High. And Sierra High School opened in 1994. And I wasn't able to get in the door at that time, but about, I don't know, 3 years later, in 97, a position opened up in the English department, ironically.
Wow.
I held a credential in English and social science. So I ended up jumping at the chance. Great principal. He's one of my mentors and still is to this day, and great man to work for. And I jumped at the chance to come over here, and that's to Sierra in 97. So taught for 5 years. And like I said, the opportunity opened itself up. I love teaching. I love coaching football and baseball. And when the opportunity presented itself, I jumped at it to work for him in an administrative role, which I knew I would do maybe someday, but I wasn't quite ready to do that. But I said, you know what, I might not get the chance again.
Yeah.
And so I took that chance to learn from one of the best.
Awesome.
And ever since 2002, I've been an admin. So I haven't been principal for 20 years. I was the vice principal for 5. We called them deans. They were discipline attendants, all that good stuff. And then AP for 4. And then I'm finishing my 14th year this will be my 14th year as principal.
And they all start to blend together. In the end, you've been a school leader there for a long time. They're about an hour east of San Francisco, as he said, there in the Central Valley. Steve, what are some longevity tips? Again, you've been there a long time. You're an active principal. You love the district. You love your hometown. Mm-hmm. What are some tips for the longevity to succeed in the position?
You gotta love what you do. I mean, I love our kids. I love everything about our school. Self-improvement, you got to take care of yourself. You have to, I think that when you find something that you love to do, and I tell the kids all the time, it's not like they're like, oh, I don't want to take this class or I don't want to take that class, but they love to do something. I say, when you go to college, you're going to find that you love to do that. So it's not like, it's like, oh, you're going to want to go pick up books and read them. You're going to want to go find out more about this. And so that's how I feel about, education and supporting people. And that's kind of, I found my why, fortunately, at a young age when I was coaching, teaching, and I was able to understand that, it fills my bucket to see others succeed and help them get there. And that's what, that's what fills my bucket personally, is to see others, whether it's a student, a staff member, clerical support staff, it doesn't matter, district office, anybody. That's kind of that's my calling. And that's what, that's my why. So
beautiful.
Well, yeah.
Well said there.
Yep.
Well, in line with that, Steve, you got to have some strong daily routines, literally, to survive the job. The job can eat you up. And here you are. You look fantastic. You got your hair. You got a shirt and tie on. You're doing a lot of things right there. What are some of your daily routines that help you love the job?
Well, first of all, it starts the night before with a good night's sleep in this job. And it's hard because, and every principal has this. It doesn't matter if you're a K5, K8, K5, or middle school, but high school, we have very, very fluctuating schedules. We have to be here at 7:30 in the morning, but then we may have a basketball game to supervise at night, and we'll get home at 10, or on Friday nights at midnight. Sometimes you walk through the door. We go to a lot of away games, and so you have to learn how to manage that. It's really about time management. So good night's sleep the night before, and then you got to exercise. You got to take care of yourself, and then eating too. A lot of people, they have a tendency to, in this job, it's easy to start eating poorly because you're just trying to get something down because you have to run from one thing to the next. So you really have to be cognizant about that. My wife has been very, very good about making sure that I'm like that. She's like, now you need to pack this fruit away in your lunch tomorrow. So, and I wasn't always great with that, but I've gotten better. I'm eating better, trying to stay in shape, and then the other thing routines wise is I always, I know this is probably something that I've actually read books that say don't do this, but I check my emails before I go to bed. And the reason I do that, or my text messages, is because, and not maybe right before I go to bed, but when I'm getting ready to, just because I want to make sure there's nothing like emergency pressing where I need to call, because this is really a 24/7, 365 job.
Yeah.
It's you get calls on weekends, I've lost kid. We had a kid pass away a couple of years ago. He was a senior when I was standing in the middle of a stream on the Eastern Sierras on my fall break fly fishing, and I got a call that I lost a student. So you have to be ready at all times. So I always check my phone before I go to bed. First thing I do when I get up, and my email's linked to it. But I have the I turn off all the things that would wake you up in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
So you have to get
notifications. Yeah,
notifications. Yeah, so I turn all that off. But I do check it a lot, and before I go to bed, waking up, that type of thing. And then throughout the day, spending time with the kids, I think, is one of the most important things. And the teachers and staff, and just building those relationships. And there's a lot of meetings these days for principals. It's at different levels, and so a lot of different things. And it's important that you don't lose sight of, those relationships and the critical, how you built the part of that culture of the school, how important it is. So
yeah.
the routine is critical. But I mean, when you get to school, I mean, this, Andrew, like, you may have a plan for the day and it doesn't even happen. Today we had a teacher that had to we had to bring an ambulance on campus and
Wow.
take him to the hospital, and I didn't have that planned. I actually I was going to meet with a teacher for their summary evaluation conference and academic dialogue about, and I had to cancel that and say, I'm sorry, we got to deal with this, one of our staff members. And so,
Wow.
yeah, they're okay. So, but I mean,
Good.
that's just an example of things happen, and this, being a principal, it's administrator in general. I mean, it's just, so.
Absolutely. If you're watching the show live, jump in and say hello. Our friend Nathan Pierce from Massachusetts is watching. But say hello to Steve. Maybe you're out in California, one of his officiating buddies from back in the day, or a fellow school leader. But please say hello. Steve, you mentioned culture, right? And again, here's somebody who loves the job. Here's somebody who stayed there. My guess is that Sierra High School's got a pretty good culture, and you are a part of it. What are some of those culture builders that you think are the most important? You mentioned spending time with the kids. When the kids know their principal, that's certainly a culture builder. But what are some things about the culture of Sierra that you could share?
Yeah, there's the old cliche is kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? But that's true. And I think that one of the things that we try to do is we're on the 4x4 block. So our kids have 4 classes in the fall and 4 classes in the spring. So we have 8 classes, and then they have the winter recess in there. And kind of like a college semester system where you take 4 courses and then 4. So one of the things that we try to do at the very beginning of each term is to do team building activities with the kids.
Nice.
So those are class culture builders. So I think it's real important that, because classes have their own climate and culture as well.
Oh, yeah.
The teacher creates that. So I think it's very important as a principal to be able to get your staff to see the value of each class, especially at a high school where you have kids moving from one class to the next, that it's critical that you build a rapport with each of those kids, and that the kids build a rapport with the kids in class. So we found that just by doing that the first few days, that you might give up a little bit of instructional time, but what happens is the payback, the dividends on that are paid off over time immensely.
Nice.
And then you, of course, have to go back, and a lot of our teachers do fun Fridays where they'll take 10 minutes and do a fun activity. We use a lot of Kagan structures with cooperative learning and that type of thing. They have team builders and class builders that are for high school kids, and a lot of our teachers come up with creative ways. But I believe it's very important for kids, the kids to understand the culture and climate. We talk about it with our leadership classes and our link crew. We have a link crew class that connects the articulation with the 8th graders and they follow them throughout the year and do things with them once they get here too. Nice. So they go out to our feeder schools, and then they also, are like a big brother, big sister sort of thing when they're on campus here. So I think it's important that you establish that with the kids, and we also have PBIS, we call it PAC. And so it's, teaching kids positive attributes. This is what a Sierra High Timberwolf should look like. 9th grade, when they leave here as a graduate that's going out into the world, This is
So they
what.
shouldn't look like the wolf on in the logo. Is that, they don't?
Yeah, no. Hey, there's a long story about that, man. That was if you remember, that was you're a basketball guy. So Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah,
We actually
yeah,
got a
yeah.
copyright infringement letter when the school first opened years ago. I have it somewhere around here.
No way.
Yeah, we had to change.
Really?
Yeah, we did. I wasn't here when we got that, but I
Oh
know.
my God.
Yeah, so they had to change a few of the trees or something. Because if you look back at when the Timberwolves Minnesota first came in, that was really their mascot. And so remember the internet. I mean, it took me, I was just telling a teacher today, it took me 3 hours back in 1997 to make a 10 slide PowerPoint presentation.
Whoa.
3 hours. Can you imagine? Like, because the slides would take it would be like super slow. Like you go do something else, grade papers, and come back and there's one slide. 30 minutes. I can do another one.
You're dating yourself, Steve.
No, I know I am. But now, man, now they have these PowerPoints that are already created for you. It's amazing. So
yeah.
The culture, we bring people into Phil Boyd. I love Phil Boyd. I don't know if you've ever heard him, or he's an activities director. He actually is in the East Bay over here at a high school, and a long-time activities director, amazing man. And we've had his company come in a few times. So we'll bring in professional development as well.
Nice.
But mostly we do things like, with our staff too, you have to do things. I know a lot of staffs do things like Fat Fridays or whatever, where they'll have that kind of thing. But we'll do what's called a lawn chair Friday, where we have, teachers will do like a nacho bar, and we'll go out and sit with the kids. And, we have 1,700 kids. So it's a lot of kids at lunch, but the teachers will go out, and it's good. It's good.
I like it. Lawn chair Friday.
Being at the door, greeting kids. I mean, all of those things build into the culture, the expectations, how we expect you to act. That's all part of the PAC, the PBIS stuff. So we're the Timberwolves. So that's why we use PAC as the acronym for, just how we act on campus. We have clean campus policy. I think it's important that you look good, and your campus looks good for the kids. So it's a place where if people walk here after lunch, like 5 minutes after lunch, they should not know that you just had lunch on this campus.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's, we have a pride flag that we raise. It's a Timberwolf flag. If our athletic teams win, that type of thing, we'll raise the flag in the middle of the quad. And, hey, our varsity basketball team won last night,
Nice.
And so there's a lot of things that happen, on campus and throughout. There's many more, but I mean, those are some of the main things.
Yeah.
Well, and you got to have leaders.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, you have to, your staff has to buy into it, and you have to have a team of leaders that carry those things out. And we have a great leadership group here that I've had multiple leadership groups that I've been very blessed to have. And, I look at it as I'm part of the team.
Yeah.
We're a team, we're shared leadership. So you really have to value those things.
Yeah. And your website matches a lot of what you're saying, though. If you look at the Sierra High School website, even your statement, Steve, on there as principal, really beautiful, talks about the pride in the school, and it just matches a lot of what you said. So kudos for being part of that great culture.
Yeah, the kids are the ones, during COVID, we would tell them online and say, when we had our meetings with the school wide, we use we're a Microsoft district, so we use Teams. So when we were online, we would tell them, hey, this place isn't the same. It's just bricks and mortar without you guys. I mean, the students are really the heart and soul. They kind of breathe life into the campus. So you have to understand that it starts with the students. And if you can build it out with your staff, and we can kind of lead them to understand that, hey, this is your school. Why would you treat it like that?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of, I've asked that of hundreds of kids over the years. Like, hey, come here. Why would you say that on account? We don't talk like that here, and just kind of correct them. You officiated. You probably you officiate a little bit different level, but with high school kids, when I officiated or coached, hey, we don't use that language.
Yeah.
On the field,
Kids are kids, man.
Find another way, and they are kids. They are kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've all been there.
Steve, I know one of the things you wanted to talk about was retaining teachers and supporting teachers. Now more than ever, we need this in education. We have to support our teachers, but specifically retaining them as well, especially the good ones, right? Sometimes we dump on the good ones because we keep giving them too much. What are some things that you could offer there on that topic?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to go as far as to go into the programs, the preparation programs, but I'll start with the interview process. I think that the interview process, I have always thought that it is one of the most critical things that we do, because you're hiring people that are going to be educating our students to proficiency or higher in the standards and preparing them for life, right? And my question has always been, would I want my own two daughters or my son, any of my three children in this teacher's classroom? Why or why not?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the ultimate litmus test. I mean, there's a lot more to that. But so the interview process has always been, to me, very, very important. Then from there, if you decide on a teacher and you hire them, and then you get them on campus, we roll out the welcome wagon for them. And this is where your team of leaders comes in. And we have a great team of leaders that has, been very influential in these areas, and just, a lot of energy, a lot of positivity. Hey, welcome to Sierra High School. You're a member of our family. We've always referred to it as a family.
Nice.
Yeah, hey, you're part of the Timberwolf family. Welcome aboard. Got all the gift things and everything. And we meet with them the first month of school. We meet with them each week just to touch base with them. And then, of course, we do all kinds of, we do learning walks that are and we explain to them, hey, these are not evaluative. They're not, this is more for us to support you. And then we have email. Our door is always email us if you need anything. No question. You can ask anything you want. Basically, how do we do this? We also have tremendous department chairs that do a great job of providing that additional support. And then we have induction through the district, which provides another layer. But I think the initial layer is critical in the hiring process. And then once you hire somebody, you're saying, hey, you're part of our family now. We want to help you, support you in all of the different management things. Because let's face it, when teachers first start, they're like, what do I do if a kid does this, right? What do I do? I mean, and my motto has always been, hey, I can teach you how to teach. I can't teach you how to care. So I want people that care. They're passionate. They care enough to make a difference and say, you know what? No, that's not okay. I'm going to address that. In the right way. I'm going to put the extra time in to create a more rigorous lesson for my students. That's kind of, we support them, and you got to keep on supporting them throughout. It's not just the first few months.
Yes.
It's you check-ins, regular check-ins. Even during evaluations, I look, hey, I'm not a gotcha guy. So if you're having a bad day, you can, now don't do it too often, but you can have a bad day and say, oh, you caught me. This is a really bad day. I don't want to see a movie showing up there for 90 minutes, but you know what I mean? But we're human. And I think having that understanding is very important, as long as it doesn't happen too much. I mean, there's that fine line, right? Between,
Sure.
So you also have to, there's an accountability measure there as well.
100%.
Our kids' lives are, they're literally in our hands in a lot of ways, as far as, whether or not they can read or write at the level where they can gain, employment that in their lifetime or fulfill their dreams. So,
100%. It's an important job, and I love that you support them early and you stay with them. Good stuff, Steve. Steve, you joked about the internet years ago, right? You're waiting for it. Well, another thing years ago is the TV would be on, or the radio, and we absorbed what was coming through the TV because it was on TV.
Yep.
We now have a choice of the content that we can consume. And I love that as a leader. I love that as a father. We have a choice of what we're going to consume. So all leaders are readers. What are some types of content? Are they blogs? Are they podcasts? Are they books? What type of content are you taking in?
Oh gosh, I read. I'm still at heart a book guy. I still like to hold a book, and that may show my age a little bit. But I do a lot of online reading too. I read your blog. I love your blog, for instance, when you send out the stories, and just inspirational stories. I've used some of them in my meetings, but I'm a reader. I read, you filter, you absorb some things, you take notes. Hey, I'm going to, we can incorporate this into I like this idea, whether it's pedagogy. I've read the Hattie's books. I've read all the Marzano stuff, and all the way to inspirational stuff. So, and then I'm a historical fiction guy if I'm reading for pleasure. Because of my history background, I love reading biographies, but I'll read historical fiction and motivational books, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
good stuff.
I was telling you, I bought your book Hats. Well, it's you, and there are a couple other authors involved there. And I really enjoyed the stories there, and we've used a few of those things.
Nice.
And so, yeah. The only regret I have from in 08, I think, was it in 18 or 19 when you were at
18,
it was in Boston.
18.
Yeah, I was in Boston. I got a great story about that too. My wife and I stayed right down the street. So we flew in early. We go, hey, we're going to the East Coast. We've never been, right? Been all over the West Coast in my cars. And I mean, we travel the West Coast up and down the West Coast.
Yeah.
From the Mississippi West, we've been everywhere. But East Coast, we hadn't been there. So we flew in and early because I said, well, I can't take it on the backside because I have to be back to school a couple days later, and I wanted to get a quick backpacking trip into my beloved Sierra Nevada mountains here. But so we flew into Boston. We got a VRBO right down. It was on the campus of Boston U.
Wow.
It had to be because all these kids were going to summer school classes in the morning. So I just figured it was, as long as it wasn't on frat or sorority row, right? We wanted some peace and quiet. So we stayed I go, oh, this is only 9/10 of a mile from Fenway. Well, I'm a sports guy, and baseball's one of my first passions. I love baseball. Well, so my wife and I, we're Dodger fans growing up in Giant country. Okay. I'm a Dodger fan that grew up in San Francisco. All my friends are Giants fans. So yeah, I get it. And I mean, I can go back to Garvey, Lopes, Russell, all those guys those were my heroes growing up. And anyway, so we go see Boston. Guess who they're playing? And we knew this. They're playing the Dodgers. Well, the Dodgers don't go to Fenway very often. I mean, it's like, hey, how perfect. Let's go. So I was like, okay, I don't normally like to spend a ton of money on those types of seats, but I go, hey, I'm going to buy some seats for us. I'm going to get some good seats so we can sit behind the Dodgers dugout. Okay, good. Wow. So I buy these tickets, right? And we show up and we're walking, and I'm like, wait a minute. And I look over. I forgot the Red Sox are one of those teams that are on the first base side. Like, here I was. I've been a baseball coach for a long time. I thought, wait a minute, the home team's on the third base side. Well, not all major league teams are like that. The Dodgers, the Giants are. So all the teams I go watch, the Padres, they're all on the, or actually the Padres are one of the few. They're on the first base, but Dodgers and Giants on the third base side. So here we are sitting 5 rows back with all these Red Sox fans, and I got my Dodger gear on. I got my Kershaw jersey on. I got my hat on. My wife's all decked out. I go, well, maybe if she's with me, they won't help us with, beers and hot dogs and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, this is when Mookie Betts was still with the Red Sox too. So I got some great pictures. Everybody around us, your gentlemen from Boston here, you guys were amazing. The gentleman and lady next to us were a retired couple, and they gave us so many places to go. And we had a great time. We drove up to Maine as part of that vacation, up Highway 1 there. Went through New York. Got to go up I stayed in Brooklyn.
Wow.
Brooklyn Dodgers. I had to go back there and stay at Brooklyn. I don't think Ebbets Field's there anymore. I didn't go. No. But we went, did the Maine, New York tour, and then we went up in the Statue of Liberty. We were fortunate enough to get up and be able to go up in there, and then went up to Maine. So it was a great trip. But and then the next 3 days we got back. That's where I first saw you. So. That's a quick story. Sorry.
Yeah, and you survived Fenway in a Dodgers jersey.
Oh, what? Oh my gosh, that's one of my bucket list things, man. I want to go to Wrigley, and then Yankee Stadium, of course, has changed over, but it still has some similarities. And Dodger Stadium's the third oldest now at Chavez Ravine up there. It's a beautiful stadium too.
It sure is.
Really big. It's a big stadium.
Look at you. Wow.
Yeah. Anyway.
That's
good times.
A great story there, and keep that reading up and keep that rolling. Steve, I'm still going to give you a wish, but I left my magic lantern at school, so I don't have it here. But if you had a wish for education, if you had a wish for your staff, your students at Sierra, nationally for education today, what would that wish be?
Oh my goodness. I would, That's a tough one. I would wish for, first of all, for each of the students and staff to have safety, passion for education, and that type of thing. Now, on the management side, I would wish for funding of our classrooms from the inside out, truly.
Mm.
So we went with LCAP in California, but it goes to county, goes to district, goes to schools, and I would really like to see that funding. How much does it cost to fund room 1 at Sierra High School with the bilingual aid? We have the teacher, the materials. What does it cost to fund that room, and then work from the school side out? That's true LCAP funding. That's truly from the inside out, and taking care of sites, where the real magic happens. We need those boots on the ground working with kids. So that would be my managerial wish. And then my personal wish would be for their safety and like I said, the passion to pursue their dreams and to make sure that, they can live as a result of those dreams too. You know what I mean? Or live off of the result of those dreams. A lot of kids say, hey, I want to play in the NBA, that type of thing. You get a lot of high school kids that want to be pro athletes. Like, hey, that's fantastic. You don't want to ever dispel that, but you want to support it, but you also want to say, hey, let's make sure we have plan B too. What are we doing? Be an accountant and be an NBA player. Why not? I mean, be the smartest NBA player you can be. I mean, that's what I always tell kids, be the smartest. I used to coach. I knew we'd have great teams when I had talent and brains, right? When I had kids who could think on their feet quickly and make adjustments quickly, and I had talent. When you put those two things together, you're going to have a great team. Yeah. But if you're talented and you don't have that critical thinking process, even in an athletic arena, that can be so.
Wishing that passion for all. I love it. Steve, I got to say hello to my mom is watching tonight. So she's giving you the thumbs up. And you're doing a good job. Steve, when you look back at your career, a long time against Sierra High School, Manteca, California, what are a couple of things that you're most proud of?
Staying the course. I think that's something that I've been proud of, is that, I wasn't always going to be an educator. I started out, I was going to be a pharmacist. And I was the first from my immediate family to graduate from college.
Wow.
And so, fourth generation, first from that side of the family to go to college. So I've always thought that staying the course was very important. And my dream was to be a pharmacist. And I did an internship at school in Kansas City, where I was at. And oh my gosh, great job. If pharmacists are watching, my hat's off to you. It's a very hard job, but I could not sit there and sort pills. And that would kill me. I love to go outside. My football coach in college, I played at an NAI school, Division I, and he required off season, we had to do community service. And so one of the best things, it impacted my life tremendously. So my community service, long story short, was I coached a co-ed flag football team. And look how big that's gotten now. We actually have flag football at Sierra High School, and we've had it for a couple of years. So, but co-ed flag football of 10 through 12-year-olds. And, here I was. And at first I was like skeptical. And I get out there and I'm running around with the kids and just having a blast, drawing up plays. And, long story short, I'm like, man, it went by so fast. I'm like, that's what I want to do, and I'm thinking, okay, that's not going to pay the bills. The Chiefs aren't going to hire me, as their head coach or anything anytime soon. But so I kind of figured out, how can I parlay this into working with kids, and I thought, oh, I can, I love history. I've always been a good writer. So I think English is something so I kind of doubled down on English and history and went into teaching and education. And that's how I kind of changed that path, was through an internship that kind of bored the life out of me, to be honest with you. Although I think it's a very critical field. I don't want to put it down. We have a lot of pharmacists that come out of here too. And I'm like, hey, bless you. Good job. Go. You're the best pharmacist you can be, but it wasn't for me. I'm moving around. I'm a backpack. I'm outside, outdoors, moving around, all kinds of stuff. So camping, traveling if we have time. And so that's kind of how I headed down that road. And I had people ask me, did you want to be a principal? I'm like, no. I had no qualms of being a principal. I had no aspirations. I wanted to be the best teacher I could be, and I love teaching, and this just kind of, that path just kind of led to this, and I've loved it, and I just love the kids here. I love the staff and our district. I'm a product of it. Felt like I got a great education at Go Tigers, my alma mater, K8 Sequoia Tigers, and then Manteca High Buffaloes. There's now a rival, but they're east of us. That was my high school. Sierra wasn't here when I was in high school, so.
Yeah. Wow. What a great story there. My mom still loves you because her husband was a pharmacist, my dad, but we love you. You picked the right thing.
That pharmacy, man, it's unbelievably important. And,
absolutely.
It just wasn't for me.
Steve, something you wanted to talk about that I didn't ask you.
Yep. Oh, that you didn't ask me?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Just you asked earlier about what do I do, and I was going to expound on it, but one of the things that when you have time off, I always encourage especially our teachers and our admin. We just came off of our spring break because we're on a 4x4 block, so we kind of have 9-week semesters.
Nice.
And then so we have a break in between each semester, and so we had a week off, and I encourage them, hey, unless you have a duty or something you have to be down here to supervise, or you have some you want to catch up on, you need to take some time, a chunk of time off for yourself. You need to unwind, go do something, go get your mind off of, you have to do that to keep the wheels turning and to build up the enthusiasm too when you come back. That you want to be revived when you come back to work for the kids, you know what I mean? And the staff. As a principal, you can't come in tired every day and grouchy and angry, and that's not going to build a very good climate and culture. So you have to really take care of yourself. One of the things I like to do when I have some time, of course, right now there's 20 feet of snow in the Sierras, so you're not going to. Yeah, we just got dumped on too. They had a big 4 feet of snow up in Tahoe. So yeah, and I think I told you in my when I emailed you, I said, yeah, Manteca, and you said, where's that? And I said, well, it's next to nothing but close to everything. So, like I said, San Francisco's hour and a half, and I'm not counting traffic here as a crow flies. San Francisco's about 70 miles, hour and a half, hour away. Monterey's a couple hours, 2.5 hours at the most. But you can drive to Monterey. Yosemite's 2.5 hours to the east of us, southeast a little bit, but east of us, and that's in the Sierra Crest. And then, of course, Tahoe is about 3 hours to the northeast of us. So Sacramento's due north of us. So like I said, there's all kinds of things to do outdoors here. And I know that is true everywhere, but I love to backpack. I love to fly fish, and the Sierras are a great place to do that. And awesome. We do a lot of, my wife goes with me. She'll backpack. She doesn't like to do more than 3 days, 3 nights out. And so, but that's another part of, like, you got to do something you love to do, and hopefully it involves some type of exercise or just something to get your mind away from the daily grind, right? And
100%. You spoke a lot about taking care of yourself, and you can tell that you love the outside and these outdoor activities, and they refresh you. They bring you that enthusiasm, like you said.
They do. And there's nothing, the Sierras from the John Muir Trail, I don't know if you ever have looked that up. The John Muir Trail is spectacular. It's some of the most, and I haven't hiked it in its totality. That's a retirement bucket list thing.
Okay.
That I'm looking forward to, but and the Pacific Crest Trail too. It runs, from Mexico to Canada, and it runs through the spine of the Sierra Nevadas, which run pretty much from the desert down south all the way up through the north part of the state into Oregon. So the Sierra Nevadas are a pretty large, expansive mountain range.
Yeah.
And I've hiked that John Muir Trail. It's beautiful. Some of the most. We actually have, when you see pictures of the Alps in Europe and some of those like glacial type mountain peaks and stuff, we actually have that in our own backyard on the Eastern Sierra. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And the fishing is great.
Wow.
I'm a catch and release fly fisherman, dry fly.
Mark it down, friends. The John Muir Trail. We get a geography lesson here from our friend in Manteca. Good stuff, Steve.
Yep.
We're at the 2-minute warning, Steve. So these are our rapid fire questions. We're going to bring us home. You got to get outside, and I got to get to bed here on the East Coast. So let's roll. Are you ready?
I am.
Here we go. Last movie you saw.
You're gonna laugh at this one. My wife and I just watched Den of Thieves 1 because Den of Thieves 2 is coming out on Netflix in a day or two, and I said I don't know if you like this, but that's the last movie we saw.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last concert you went to.
Goo Goo Dolls.
Ooh, nice.
They're from your neck of the woods. They're from New York.
There you go.
You know, that's a 90s band. I don't know. We were really big on them in the 90s when we were raising our kids. On road trips, we would listen to the Goo Goo Dolls and the Fray.
Well, here you go.
Probably.
The last song you sang out loud in the car.
Oh, my goodness. Wow. That song I sang out loud in the car. Yeah, probably Iris. I mean, I was listening to some Goo Goo Dolls radio the other day, so probably Iris.
Great restaurants in California. What's your favorite dish?
Favorite dish, carne asada. And if you've ever anywhere in California now, but it's improved tremendously. The carne asada has up north here, or in the central part of the state, but it used to have to go down to San Diego and that area near Tijuana there to get the really authentic carne asada, but you can get that anywhere up here now. Beautiful. And there's some places that if you're ever here, I'll give you some specific places. Melt in your mouth.
Let's do it. Favorite place to travel?
The United States. I mean, I want to go to Ireland. I want to go to some places in Europe, and there's a couple places in South America, but the United States there's so many. We've traveled like I said, almost every road and highway on the west of the Mississippi, and it's absolutely stunning. And some of the things here are just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, one of his family hobbies there, road trips.
Driving the United States.
Yeah,
there's so much to see.
Shout out to your children on those road trips, Lacey, Elizabeth, and Joshua. Certainly your wife, Leslie. So
they're warriors. Yeah.
A lot of miles.
Yeah.
Good for you, man. That's awesome. Manteca is fill in the blank.
Amazing.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
In 20
and also, there you go, Andrew. We're the pumpkin capital of the world.
How about that?
We have the pumpkin festival. So yeah, we do compete a little bit. Well, we compete a little bit with one of the beach towns over here. They have the largest pumpkin festival every year. On the beach, Half Moon Bay, they host the large pumpkin festival, but so we kind of go back and forth with them about being the pumpkin capital. But Manteca, some of the farmers here that have been here since I was a little kid, growing up before that, they still grow those pumpkins and they push them out to all the markets, and it's pretty cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Yep. Yeah. In 2025, I will fill in the blank.
Be the best I can be, best version of myself.
And the guy's been doing it 25 years plus. I love that answer, Steve. In 2025, I will stop fill in the blank.
I will stop stressing out. So I will stop. I will mostly limit. I can't say I will stop. I mean, stress is stress, right? I'm going to limit the stress.
I like it.
And,
if you had a superpower, what would it be?
Oh, my goodness. My superpower would be to help prevent anybody from being harmed. And you're talking about any superpower, right? I'm not talking about just moving buildings, right? You're talking about
education, leadership, and beyond. You can do anything you want.
I can do anything you want. That's right. So yeah, just protect people, keep them from being harmed. If they have maybe disease type healing powers would be pretty cool, right? Maybe some AI injected for those that are, especially children, Yeah, it kind of breaks my heart to
life of a principal there.
We actually have a couple students, right? I mean, as every principal does, quite a few students right now that have some life changing and altering illnesses and cancers and stuff that we keep in our thoughts and prayers every day. But I wish you could go in and if I could change that, be cool.
If you weren't in the field of education, we know it's not pharmacy, but what field would you be in?
And it can't be a pro baseball player. No, I'm going to throw that one out. I would probably be a lawyer because I just love the law. I love watching kids mock trial litigation. I just love every aspect of that legal part of it, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah.
Supreme Court cases, I love referencing those and looking back. That's the history side of me, I think, but I'd probably be a lawyer.
You mentioned a lot of passions of yours. What's a pet peeve of yours?
Just rudeness overall, like just people not thinking of others, I don't know, especially intentional, rudeness in general.
Yeah, I agree. At 8 a.m. on Saturday morning, I am fill in the blank.
Yeah, I'm going to be having a cup of coffee with my wife outside. It's supposed to be really nice this weekend after we've gotten rain. And so I'm going to be having a cup of coffee and looking forward to my grandson coming over.
Oh,
yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. Yep.
Very nice.
Yep.
One thing Steve Clark is curious about.
Ooh, I'm curious about a lot of things. Gosh darn. I'm curious. I want to read that book you're going to send me, Tales from the Hardwood.
It's coming.
Is it Tales from the Hardwood, right?
It's coming in the mail. It's
right.
Perfect timing.
I'm curious to read that book right there and see what it says in there, because I appreciated your stories when I've seen you present live. Yeah.
It's coming in the mail to Manteca. Hopefully the post office will get
there.
Something about Steve Clark that people do not know about.
Everybody knows I'm a hiker and backpacker, and fly fish, so I'm gonna throw that aside. So people don't know that I love music. Like I love music, all kinds of genres of music. Like I could be listening to jazz one moment, and then the next moment I could be listening to rock and roll. I'm not a hard rock guy, like headbanger rock, but some of the, what they used to call rock back in our days, Def Leppard and some of those 80s bands, the big hair bands, right? Or I could listen to, we used to listen to Air Supply, Goo Goo Dolls, the grunge rock stuff. I like that too. I love singer-songwriter. There's, gosh, I can't think of his name off the top of my head right now, but there's one that I've been listening to a lot. My wife and I, when we travel, will, put his stuff in there. So just music in general. I love music. Music makes me feel good. That's another thing for self-care when I drive home.
Oh yeah.
A podcast that's uplifting or music. Get in the mood to listen to some good music. It'll change your mood right away.
100%.
Yeah.
Along with music, right? A lot of lyrics in there. What's a quote you have to end the show with us?
Oh, there are, man. I'm going to go with something a little different here. It's along my history side too, but I'm going to go with Frederick Douglass. And it's easier and I'm going to change it a little bit, because he says it's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. And so I'm going to say it's easier to build strong children than to repair broken people. And so I think that is a quote that's resonated. I did a research paper on him in college, and I use that quote in my paper, and thought, that was always like, oh, that's pretty thought. It's very simple, but at the same time, in education, our job is to help parents as a partner in getting these kids pointed in the right direction and passionate about a career. And I think that it's much easier to do that than, I'll be honest with you, I started out my career, I told you at the beginning of this, I started out teaching in juvenile hall and working with kids who had been expelled from high school. Wow. And I said, you know what, I want to go get them before they get here. And I still have some of those kids that stay in touch with me that we were able to get out of gangs and headed down, where they're working in jobs that they did job shadowing for 30 years ago. But that's kind of always been a passion of mine, is trying to help people to be the best they can be.
Steve Clark, my friends, what a great podcast, Steve. You could tell you have a beautiful heart for education, for people, even the superpower, right? You want to take that illness away or take that bad thing away from people. So thanks for your leadership and certainly the service you've provided in your hometown community of Manteca.
Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate you and your podcast too. It's another part of keeping that positive attitude every day and being able to do this for a long time is having, people like yourself that are inspirational and actually mentors in a lot of ways. So it's good. So thank you.
Right back at you, Steve.
Appreciate you. Yep.
Steve Clark, Manteca, California. One of our great educators out there serving in our schools. Steve, this was fun. Good luck to your Dodgers this year, as opening day is approaching.
Actually, they play tonight in Japan.
Do they really? Is it
3
open
a.m. in the morning?
Cubs, right?
Oh, maybe they did play. Did they play already?
I
They're
think
supposed to play at 3 a.m. Maybe they did play, I think.
well,
No, I
hopefully
don't know
you
if they
got
won
up
or
at
lost.
that time getting that rest. We are going to sign
Okay.
off here on the podcast, friends. Steve, you stay on the line a second. Keep surviving and thriving, friends. Enjoy the NCAA tournament. Enjoy that March Madness, and an honor to be here. Thanks, friends. Keep surviving and thriving. Steve, stay on the line, my friend.